In a dramatic turn of events, Diddy's son, Christian Combs, stormed out of court following explosive revelations from his attorney about his involvement in the infamous FreakOFFS. The court session, which focused on accusations involving minors, saw Christian's attorney divulge shocking details that sent shockwaves through the courtroom. The allegations point to his potential involvement in orchestrating or participating in events where minors were allegedly coerced into illegal acts. The sudden outburst and Christian's exit from the court added fuel to the fire, intensifying the media frenzy surrounding the Combs family's ongoing legal troubles. As the trial progresses, the public eagerly awaits what these revelations mean for Christian's future and whether they will tarnish the Combs legacy forever. The moment of shock, a turning point in the courtroom. The tension in the Los Angeles courtroom was palpable as the defense attorney dropped a bombshell that stunned everyone present. It was a statement that sent shockwaves through the room, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. The lawyer casually mentioned a disturbing allegation. Christian Combs, the son of the embattled music mogul Sean "Diddy" Combs, had been involved in targeting underage guests at so-called FreakOffs. The room, filled with reporters, legal teams, and onlookers, collectively gasped. This wasn't just another salacious detail. This was a game-changer, potentially deepening the scandal to a level that many hadn't anticipated. The weight of the statement hung in the air, and the cameras, ever watchful, began to click frantically, immortalizing the moment. As the words hung in the air, Christian Combs, once a confident, almost untouchable figure in the hip-hop and entertainment world, responded in a manner that only added to the drama. With a look of disbelief and frustration, he pushed his chair back forcefully, his face draining of color as the accusation settled in. Without offering a single glance back or a word of explanation, he rose from his seat, stormed past his own legal team, and made a swift exit through the courtroom doors. It wasn't a dramatic exit designed for the cameras, but one born from what appeared to be pure instinct, a mixture of shame, guilt, and perhaps fear. His sudden departure wasn't about him fleeing from the court. It was a statement of damage control. He knew that the moment the words underage and freak-off were uttered in a legal setting, the story would take a darker, more sinister turn. The hidden darkness. Allegations of exploitation and abuse. As Christian walked out, the court was left buzzing, filled with unanswered questions and speculation. What was meant by FreakOffs? What did these events entail? And why were minors allegedly involved? Was there a deeper undercurrent of exploitation and corruption that had been hidden for years? This moment, though seemingly just a legal exchange, illuminated the murky world of hedonism and excess that seemed to swirl around the Combs family. The defense attorney's words suggested that the so-called freak-offs were not just wild parties attended by willing adults, as many had assumed. Instead, they were gatherings that allegedly involved underage guests, opening a new, terrifying chapter in an already convoluted narrative. The term freak-off, in itself, was highly suggestive of the hedonistic, often illicit nature of these events, which, according to reports, were held on yachts chartered by Sean "Diddy" Combs himself. What was supposed to be a luxurious family excursion had morphed into a nightmare of intoxication, debauchery, and, disturbingly, potential child exploitation. For years, Diddy's empire had been one of glitz, glamour, and celebrity, a world where boundaries seemed to blur and where fame protected the powerful from scrutiny. Yet, this new revelation threatened to unravel that carefully curated image, showing that the darker side of celebrity life was not only real, but potentially far worse than anyone had imagined. A string of disturbing incidents, The Yacht and the Allegations Against Christian Combs. The story took an even darker turn when further details of the allegations were made public. According to a lawsuit filed in the Los Angeles Superior Court in late 2023, Christian Combs, the son of Sean "Diddy" Combs, was accused of sexually assaulting a young woman named Grace Omar, a yacht stewardess who had been hired to work on one of the Combs family's chartered yachts in December 2022. What was supposed to be a straightforward job, serving food and drinks on a luxury family trip, quickly devolved into a chaotic and horrifying experience for Omar. The lawsuit alleged that Christian, heavily intoxicated and accompanied by a rotating cast of individuals, including suspected sex workers, pressured Omar to drink tequila shots, which she claimed had been laced with drugs. The description of the yacht was nothing like what Omar had been led to believe. Instead of a peaceful family retreat, it was a non-stop party filled with people she didn't recognize, many of whom were allegedly engaging in illicit activities. As the night wore on, Omar's discomfort grew, and things escalated when Christian allegedly began to touch her inappropriately, groping her legs, breasts, and private areas. When she tried to push him off, he allegedly insisted on continuing, despite her repeated pleas for him to stop. In the chaos of the evening, Omar attempted to leave the situation, but Christian pursued her, blocking her exit, and allegedly tried to force oral sex upon her. When she struggled to fight him off, a brief respite came when someone walked into the room, allowing her to flee. But her ordeal didn't end there. According to her account, when she reported the incident to the yacht's captain, her complaint was met with hostility, and she suspected the captain may have been paid off to cover up the incident. This only added fuel to the fire, suggesting a larger conspiracy within the yacht crew, potentially orchestrated or tolerated by Sean Combs himself. The legal battle, a lawsuit and growing allegations. The case against Christian Combs and his father continued to evolve, with the lawsuit filing offering a detailed account of the night's events, including photos of bruises allegedly caused by Christian's violent actions. The legal team representing Omar included highly respected attorneys who wasted no time in laying out the details of the abuse. The complaint also included a transcript of an audio recording, allegedly captured on the yacht, which reportedly captured moments of Omar being coerced into drinking the tainted tequila and being harassed by Christian. This evidence was crucial in painting a damning picture of the events aboard the yacht, and it only intensified the public's desire for answers. The fallout from these allegations was immense, especially considering the high-profile nature of the individuals involved. Christian Combs, who had previously been seen as a rising star in the entertainment industry, was now at the center of a scandal that threatened to ruin both his and his father's legacy. The media quickly latched onto the story, and it wasn't long before whispers about the Combs family's alleged involvement in other illicit activities began to surface. In particular, the accusations of FreakOFFS and the suggestion that minors were involved only fueled the fire, casting a shadow over the Combs family's reputation. The startling allegations, a courtroom revelation. The Los Angeles courtroom was filled with a heavy sense of tension as defense attorney Aaron Dyer revealed a set of shocking allegations that caught everyone by surprise. The case had already attracted considerable attention due to the prominent individuals involved, but now it seemed to take an even darker turn. The statement that Christian Combs, son of the renowned music mogul Sean "Diddy" Combs, had allegedly played a role in organizing and facilitating illicit activities at exclusive parties added a new and disturbing layer to the case. Though these were just allegations at that point, the sheer gravity of the accusations sent ripples throughout the courtroom. Dyer's words suggested a pattern of behavior tied to Christian's involvement in parties where illegal activities had taken place. This development made it clear that the case was far from ordinary. It was a complex and disturbing legal matter that involved more than just the individuals directly named. The situation had become a media spectacle, with the public eye focused on the behavior of the Combs family and the events leading up to the lawsuit. In a moment of unexpected response, Christian Combs stood up abruptly and walked out of the courtroom without a word, visibly shaken by the gravity of the claims being discussed. His exit did not go unnoticed, and photographers captured the scene, creating even more public speculation. Was he distancing himself from the scandal? Or was it an attempt to avoid further embarrassment as the case continued to unfold? Regardless, the courtroom was left with a sense of unease as everyone processed the implications of what had just been revealed. The FreakOFFS allegations, an opaque world of deception. At the heart of the case lay a concept that was both foreign and chilling to many, the so-called FreakOFFS. These events were not your typical social gatherings, but highly orchestrated parties where attendees allegedly engaged in illicit activities. According to the lawsuit, these gatherings were organized by Sean "Diddy" Combs and, shockingly, implicated his sons as active participants. The term "freak-off" itself referred to these private events that, while initially glamorous, allegedly concealed much darker and more concerning activities. The parties described in the lawsuit were not merely celebrations, but rather meticulously planned events where attendees, including some minors, were pressured into participating in harmful and degrading behavior. The Combs family, in these allegations, played an active role in recruiting and enabling the participation of guests. It was suggested that these gatherings often involved alcohol and other substances, potentially coercing individuals into actions they would not have otherwise participated in. Christian, according to the legal documents, was not just a passive attendee at these events. He was allegedly involved in facilitating the gatherings, recruiting individuals, and playing an active role in the activities that took place at these parties. The nature of these events, and Christian's alleged involvement in them, brought even more attention to the case, which now seemed to involve not only personal misconduct, but also broader issues of manipulation and control. The role of alcohol and substances, coercion and control. The use of alcohol and other substances was cited as a key element of the freak-off parties. According to the victims' testimonies, many of them were given alcohol and drugs without their full consent or knowledge, which led to a loss of control and left them vulnerable to exploitation. These substances, it is alleged, were used deliberately to lower inhibitions and to pressure individuals into participating in activities they may not have agreed to under normal circumstances. One of the key plaintiffs, Grace Omar, a stewardess who had worked at some of these parties, described the sense of confusion and fear she felt after consuming a drink that had been spiked. The lawsuit indicated that she was left in a vulnerable state, where her ability to resist was compromised. These claims were particularly alarming because they suggested that not only was there a deliberate manipulation of vulnerable individuals at these events, but that it was part of a calculated and systematic pattern orchestrated by those in positions of power. These accounts painted a disturbing picture of exploitation at the heart of what appeared to be glamorous events. The power imbalance at play in these situations made it difficult for those involved to speak out or resist, and this was something that the lawsuit emphasized in its claims. Christian Combs, a legacy in question. Christian Combs had long been associated with the world of entertainment, first gaining recognition as the son of Sean Combs, a man who had revolutionized the music and fashion industries. Christian had appeared to follow in his father's footsteps, making his own name in the industry. However, the allegations in the lawsuit painted a very different picture of the young man, suggesting that he had been involved in actions that ran counter to the values of respect and consent. According to the lawsuit, Christian was not just an innocent bystander at these parties. but an active participant. His alleged role in facilitating the FreakOFFS and encouraging others to partake in the activities was a central component of the legal case. His involvement, if true, raised serious questions about his character and the influence of his famous family. Christian had grown up surrounded by wealth and privilege, but now he found himself at the center of an investigation that threatened to destroy his reputation and career. The allegations also painted a troubling picture of the environment Christian was raised in. While his father, Diddy, had built an empire based on entertainment, it now appeared that some of the values associated with that empire, power, control, and manipulation, had been passed down to his sons. Christian, it seemed, was a product of this environment, and the accusations suggested that he had adopted a mindset where he could exploit others without consequence. The federal investigations, a growing web of allegations. As the case continued to gain traction in the media, federal authorities began to take a closer look at the activities of Sean Combs and his family. In a series of raids conducted in the fall of 2024, Homeland Security agents seized a large quantity of electronic devices, records, and documents from properties tied to Diddy in several major cities, including Los Angeles, Miami, and New York. The investigations were clearly escalating, and it seemed that the scope of the alleged crimes was much larger than initially believed. In addition to the allegations of coercion and exploitation at the FreakOFFS, federal authorities were now investigating the broader network that might have been involved in these illegal activities. The raids were not only focused on Diddy's personal properties, but also on his business dealings, with law enforcement speculating that his vast empire might have been used to facilitate these illicit operations. As the investigations continued, it became clear that the Combs family was not just under scrutiny for individual acts of misconduct, but for potentially being involved in a larger criminal enterprise. Federal charges of trafficking, racketeering, and other serious offenses loomed on the horizon, further complicating the situation for Diddy and his sons. The emotional impact on victims, a long road to healing. While the legal proceedings were ongoing, it was the emotional toll on the victims that remained a central focus. The lawsuit highlighted not only the physical assaults that allegedly took place, but also the deep psychological scars left on those involved. Women who had been coerced or manipulated into these situations described the lasting effects of their experiences. Anxiety, depression, and feelings of worthlessness were common among those who had been victimized, and many struggled to come to terms with the betrayal of trust they had suffered. Grace Omar's testimony was particularly poignant, as she spoke about the fear she felt during the event where she was allegedly drugged and assaulted. Her decision to come forward was not easy, and it required immense courage to share her story with the world. Her actions, along with those of other plaintiffs, were seen as an important step in holding the Combs family accountable for their actions and in shedding light on the darker side of celebrity culture. Christian Combs' response: "Stop with the caps." Meanwhile, Diddy's son, Christian Combs, 26, found himself thrust into the spotlight following the dramatic events of the LA raid. Christian, who had been handcuffed and questioned by federal agents, posted for the first time since the incident, responding to the growing rumors and media frenzy. His message was succinct but clear: "Stop with the caps," a slang expression suggesting that the media was lying or exaggerating the facts. Christian's use of slang to address the accusations made it clear that he was attempting to assert his innocence and to control the narrative surrounding the allegations. The raid, which had seen federal agents storming the Los Angeles mansion, was just the latest chapter in a saga that had become increasingly public. Christian's words, though simple, seemed like a direct response to the media's sensational coverage. The raid had been a shocking and intrusive event, And Christian's post was an attempt to deflect the media's focus and shift attention to his own narrative. Yet, despite his attempt to regain control of the situation, Christian's silence on the more serious allegations, including the sexual abuse claims linked to his name, was deafening. His refusal to directly address these rumors raised even more suspicion in the court of public opinion. In the wake of the raid, many followers on social media began to question the authenticity of his message, with some defending him and others demanding more transparency. The media circus, a family under siege. The raid on the Combs' LA home had taken a dramatic turn, with footage surfacing showing Christian Combs pressed against a wall with his hands in the air, being handcuffed by federal agents. In the background, other agents could be seen continuing their search through the property. Moments later, Justin Combs, Diddy's 29-year-old son, was seen walking with agents down a hallway with his hands on his head. The release of these images, which seemed to portray the Combs family in a vulnerable position, only added fuel to the media firestorm. The media's portrayal of these events only intensified as the situation unfolded. The public's fascination with the lives of the ultra-wealthy and their families, particularly the Combs family, made this case an irresistible spectacle. The images of the Combs' sons, seemingly caught in a compromising position, were circulated widely, further shaping the narrative of a family under investigation. The public was left to speculate on the true nature of the allegations, with many questioning if these were just the latest in a series of scandals involving Diddy and his children. In an attempt to defend her sons, Justin Combs' mother, who had been outspoken in her criticism of the federal investigation, released a statement condemning the handling of the raid. In her statement, she characterized the use of overzealous and militarized tactics against her sons as an example of racial bias. She accused federal agents of intentionally trying to humiliate and terrorize her children, calling the situation a form of unjust treatment that would not have occurred if the sons in question had been white. The statement was a strong public condemnation of the raid's aggressive tactics, but it also revealed a larger undercurrent of frustration within the family about the way the investigation was being handled. The dangers of fame. Christian's attempt to build his own identity. Despite the cloud of scandal hanging over his family, Christian Combs had been working to carve out his own path in the entertainment industry. In 2022, he released his hit single, Can't Stop, Won't Stop, which had earned him attention in the music world. The song's success marked a pivotal moment in his career, as it signaled that he was ready to stand apart from his father's immense shadow. Additionally, Christian launched a sneaker line called Younger Luxury, further cementing his ambition to build a legacy beyond his father's name. However, as the legal battles surrounding his family intensified, Christian's own name became inseparably linked with scandal. What had once been a promising career now seemed marred by controversy. His music, his fashion line, and his personal ambition were overshadowed by the legal drama that seemed to follow his family at every turn. In the court of public opinion, the details of Christian's personal and professional life were overshadowed by the dark cloud of the allegations against him. As the public continued to scrutinize every post Christian made, it became evident that his reputation was now entwined with the scandal. Fans on social media flooded his accounts with comments, some supportive, some accusatory, demanding that he address the rumors. Christian, however, remained silent, sticking to his attorney's prepared statements. This silence, especially following his walkout from the courtroom, only fueled the ongoing speculation about his involvement. The federal investigation, a web of allegations and evidence. As the federal investigation into Diddy and his family deepened, the focus turned to the potential evidence that prosecutors were gathering. Federal agents were reportedly searching for videos that might provide evidence of the alleged sexual abuse. These potential videos were seen as crucial to the prosecution's case, and their discovery could lead to swift charges against Diddy. Investigators were also examining the contents of the Combs' mansion, searching for further incriminating evidence. At the center of this investigation were the so-called FreakOFFS, the highly controversial parties that allegedly involved illicit behavior. If videos existed of these events, they could serve as damning evidence, and prosecutors were eager to find them. The Combs family's wealth and celebrity status made the investigation all the more complex. In a high-profile case like this, the stakes were incredibly high, not just for Diddy, but for everyone connected to him, including Christian. A superseding indictment. Could Christian be involved? As the investigation progressed, legal experts began to speculate about the potential for a superseding indictment. A superseding indictment is an additional charge added to an existing criminal case, and it could involve other individuals connected to the primary suspect. In this case, legal experts were considering whether Christian could be implicated in his father's alleged criminal activities. Given the close relationship between Diddy and his children, it seemed entirely possible that Christian could face charges as well if investigators were able to connect him to any of the alleged illegal activities. A superseding indictment would have significant implications for Christian's future, not just legally, but also professionally. The possibility that he could be charged alongside his father was a grim reality that seemed to grow more likely as the investigation moved forward. If convicted, both Diddy and Christian could face severe legal consequences, including lengthy prison sentences. The path forward. A legacy in jeopardy. As the legal battles intensify, the Combs family stands at a crossroads, with their futures uncertain both in the courtroom and the court of public opinion. Diddy, once a towering figure in the music and business world, now finds his carefully constructed image of success unraveling with each new allegation. The weight of the accusations against him, compounded by the growing media frenzy, threatens to overshadow his decades-long career and legacy. His once untouchable status as a mogul is now in jeopardy, with every public appearance scrutinized and every move analyzed. Meanwhile, Christian Combs, who had been carving his own path in the music and fashion industries, faces a far more complicated road ahead. His burgeoning career has been marred by the scandal, with every achievement now overshadowed by the allegations surrounding his family. The shadow of his father's legal troubles looms large, threatening to derail his own aspirations. As the trial draws nearer, the Combs family must confront the legacy of their actions. The world is watching closely, waiting for the next developments in this high-stakes drama.